Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
Today's show is sponsored by HeshiSocks.com, the most comfortable, kick-ass fashion socks for work or for play. I've learned from wearing these socks that dress shoes are comfortable. You just need the right socks. If you're wearing typical socks, they provide no protection at all, causing your feet to hurt. Trust me, Heshi socks are like pillows for your feet. So if you're wearing nice shoes, or your feet hurt, you need Heshi socks. Now, all Heshi socks are cushioned in the footbed, the heel, and the toe. They provide maximum comfort. They have arch support in the center of the foot. They are made with high-end Pima cotton. P-I-M-A, Pima is super soft cotton. It is highly breathable and absorbent for your feet and sweat. They are also antimicrobial, kills the bacteria and keeps your feet from stinking, Lewis. Of course, they offer them in a variety of styles, basics, fashion socks, you name it, they've got you covered. So, you want good socks? You want comfortable feet? You want stylish socks? HeshiSocks.com has you covered. Go to H-E-S-H-I, HeshiSocks.com, and they are crazy comfortable, and we got a crazy deal for you. Use the promo code BELIEVE30. You will get 30% off. HeshiSocks.com, promo code BELIEVE30, 30% off. Let's start the show.
Conceive, believe, achieve. Shut the f*** up.
New undisputed UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael the Count Bisping.
This is Believe You Me on the Gas Digital Network.
All right, we're back.
We are back, and we apologize to everybody. It's my fault, but a lot of people have been hitting us up. The believers have been saying, where the hell is this week's episode? So right off the bat, my sincere apologies. You may recall Lewis and Co. busting my balls recently, saying that I was having plastic surgery on my face. I was not having plastic surgery on my face, but I did have an operation on my face. Lewis giving me shit saying I was getting a nose job. No, I was having a medical procedure, Lewis, that needed to be taken care of because one couldn't sleep at night. So hence, therefore, I couldn't do Monday's show. That's when I had the surgery. We are doing another one today, but I will be shrouded in darkness because my face is not fit for human consumption right now, Lewis.
You're also a little bit more self-conscious than you need to be. You look like a badass. It looks like it doesn't look like you got a fucking Hollywood LA nose job. You also have all the scar tissue and the fucked up ears and the rest of your body's all a fucking mess. What is that? What the fuck is that? What are you doing? Ew, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, this is the drain, Lewis. So I went to see the doctor just to give a little more info, and they said, yeah, wow, it looks like a bomb has gone off inside your nose. He said, you have no nose whatsoever. In the last 6 to 12 months, the shape of my nose really changed. And that's kind of what, I was like, what's going on? But then at night, the main thing, I couldn't sleep. And when I went to a doctor, he's like, shit, you have, the structure of your nose doesn't exist. It's literally like a bomb has gone off. So what they did, they took a piece of my rib and rebuilt the structure of the nose. So they did a complete reconstruction of the inside. So that what I just showed you there is the drain, which is inside my body. Some horrible drain, which is draining away blood and fluid, which would gather around the rib, possibly cause infection and so on and so forth.
And what do you do
and it filled up.
What do you do at the end of the tube? You plug it into a bag?
Yeah, there's like a colostomy bag on the end of it, but I've stopped leaking now. But the thing is still inside me, so I have this weird, horrible drain that's hanging out of my ribs right now. It is kind of gross. I've been scaring Lucas to death every night because I go into his room with just my underpants on, with the tube leaking out of my ribs.
Wait a minute, hold on, easy.
And I keep swinging. I'm swinging it around in circles, going, "You're coming on my spaceship back to Mars." And he's like, "Daddy, you're freaking me out." He actually is really scared of it because it is gross. But let me tell you this, Lewis. The pain this week has been off the scale, my friend. The doctor, of course, he did a fantastic job, I'm sure. I'm yet to have the cast off my face and see what I look like. But I'm sure he did a fantastic job. But he did play down the severity of the pain a little bit. So this week has been a long, tough week, my friend.
Yeah, so... I'm glad. First of all, I'm glad you're able to do the show. We talked about doing it earlier in the week, and I will say right now, I gave you the out. A lot of people are going to be like, oh, Michael Bisping, how dare you? How dare you put your health before the fans of this show? And I agree with them, to be honest with you. But
yes.
I gave you the out. I said, hey, dude, if you're not feeling up to it, let's just not do the show. Because we were going to do it last night, and you were on some painkillers. You were hanging out. You were like, oh, my face it hurts so much. I was like, what are we going to do? We're going to fucking talk while you're literally writhing in pain, high on fucking painkillers? No. Push it off a day.
Dude. No, sorry. No. I was going to say the amount of pain pills I've had this week has been off the scale. So I'm like, right, that's it. I'm done. The doctor prescribed quite a healthy amount, and I'm like, fuck these things. I'm not taking these anymore. So that is it. I got up this morning. I was still in pain, and I'm like, nah, I'm done. I am not doing this anymore because it's very easy to get addicted to these things. They're very, very strong. And I'm like, yeah, no, enough is enough, And not just that, because then you get out of bed in the morning, you take a fucking pain pill, you whacked out your mind, and then obviously you're not achieving anything. And to be honest, right now, the main goal is rest anyway. So it forces you to take it easy because you're not fit to do anything. But still, I don't want to be cracked out of my mind the whole time on pain pills.
So when you say pain pills, what type of pain pills are we talking about here?
Oxycontin and Percocet. So some heavy duty stuff, And
you just got a bunch of extras lying around now. You're just not going to, you're not using them.
Lewis, yeah, you're welcome to them. If you'd like me to break a law and then mail them to you, then yeah, for ssure, I'll do that.
We're doing audio only, right?
Yeah. We're doing audio only. we're now dealing drugs through the U.S. Postal Service via the Believe You Me podcast.
Listen, if you love the show and you go to iTunes right now and leave us a 5-star ranking, we will pick one reviewer to give Oxycontins to via U.S. Postal Service.
Oh my God, they really shouldn't joke. There is a massive opioid crisis right now. I read this week, Lewis, it's crazy, and this wasn't the idea of the show. We didn't mention this at all, but a stat came out this week that you're more likely to die from an accidental opioid overdose than a car crash. I mean, that is a crazy stat, absolutely insane. And I was thinking about it every night as I'm led there, and I'm like, shit, I got to take another because I couldn't sleep. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be, I just remember seeing that story on Twitter. And every time I took one, I thought, I do not want to be an accidental death. I do not want my wife to wake up in the morning and find my cold, lifeless body and having to explain to the children that daddy's dead because he took too many pills.
Well, what's funny is like I my son, me and his mother co-parent, and I think that all the time. It's like every time I even have a drink or like whatever, I go like, what if I would wake up in the morning? I just didn't wake up. I just drank too much. You vomit in your sleep, whatever it is, and your kid has to find you that way. That has to be the most horrifying experience in the world. But if you're not going to take those pills. We'll let him go to waste like an asshole.
We'll figure something out. But as you say, you just made me think of something again. Then when you said about drinking and throwing up and stuff, for anybody that's had surgery, and unfortunately I've had a few, you can't ingest any fluid or food or anything like that for 12 hours before the surgery. Certainly they tell you not to take any medication or anything like that. I'd been in Brooklyn last week. We'll get into those fights. Even though it's late, we've got some fun things to say about the fights in Brooklyn. Fantastic event, by the way. Yeah. Well done to the UFC and ESPN for getting off to a great start. But what is one to do after a week of discipline in Brooklyn? Well, I didn't finish till like 2:30 in the morning. I thought I need a couple of drinks. I need a couple of beers. I've taken a lot of Monsters, a lot of Red Bulls, a lot of caffeine. If I'm going to sleep tonight, I need a couple of beers, a little bit of whiskey. Just purely medicinal purposes.
Whoa. Are you officially on whiskey now? Have I turned you?
I enjoyed the whiskey last week, Lewis.
Hell yeah.
I had a little bit of whiskey and I had a few beers. And then the next day I felt like crap. Well, what do you do when you feel like crap at the airport? Well, you might as well have a little bit more whiskey. This time it was tequila and a couple of beers. Long story short, I get home from my flight and I feel like death warmed up. Okay. And I need to drink some fluid. And it was late and it was probably already after 12. And I'm like, no, I need a drink. So I drank fluid. And then in the morning, I woke up with a headache. And then I took some paracetamol, some ibuprofen and, sipped away. And then you're there at surgery and you're like, okay, promises you haven't had anything to drink. I'm like, nope. He's like, okay. And you haven't had anything to eat. I'm like, nope. And he's like, you haven't had any kind of medication. This is important. No ibuprofen, aspirin, anything like that. I'm like, no, nothing. I'm thinking, yes, I had 3 about 45 minutes ago. But you can't, even though you know it's not going to do anything, if you say yes to the doctor, I'm sure because of their protocol and insurance, they'll cancel the operation.
They have to push it off.
So I'm like, nope, I didn't. But in my mind, I'm like, shit, I hope I don't die.
Yeah. Like, is it worth it to die? Like, but no, come on. They're just being super fucking safe.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think. I'm like, they're just being like overly cautious. They got their protocols. They got the insurance policies. Or maybe they're right. Or maybe the doctors do know that perhaps you shouldn't be taking ibuprofen and ingesting liquid when you're about to go on under general anesthesia. I don't know. Maybe they know, Lewis.
I think they're being better safe than sorry. They get sued all the time, and if there's even a 1% risk of you dying because you took some ibuprofen that doesn't mix with the, when they put you under, whatever they call it.
The anesthetic.
Anesthetic.
General anesthesia.
It can fuck you up. My son's bunk bed, the max weight is 225 pounds, and I'm a good 240 right now, 235 at least.
And you get on the top bunk?
I'm going like, really? Is it exactly? Really? Anything beyond that, it's going to break? No, they have to probably have 100-pound like difference that's going to actually break, but they can't put the number exactly at the number where it's going to break. So I think I'm fine.
Yeah. So you're okay. The bunk beds won't break, and I won't die. So anybody listening to this, if you've got surgery coming up, take some ibuprofen, flaunt the doctor's rules, and get that cheap-ass bunk bed and put a fat bastard on top of it.
Yeah.
Rules do not mean anything. Guidelines are there to be broken. It's all nonsense, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, if you leave us a good review, we can actually give you the drugs to take before your surgery. So
if you leave us a good review, you might get a pair of Sanibel gloves. We've been talking about it, but the day is coming. Leave a review. Tell your friends all that good stuff.
Those Sanibel gloves don't sound anywhere near as good after we're offering Oxycontin. Like, this sounded great before we were offering illegal narcotics to the audience.
We are not offering illegal narcotics, and I'm glad that you find it so funny. Lewis, do not take the opioid epidemic in vain. Do not make light of such a situation.
My mother killed herself with heroin. It's okay. I can joke about it. I've earned the fucking right.
That is correct. If anybody can make light of that situation, it is you. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. You are the authority on the opioid epidemic. I can't
That's
get my
right,
words
guys.
out. If there's one thing Lewis knows about, it's opioids.
It's true.
It's heroin. He's a fucking expert, man.
Come on, baby.
Send me some. We'll do a little trade.
Live here in New York City.
You send me some heroin. I'll send you some oxys. There you go. What is going on with this podcast?
A lot.
So there you go. That's my life right now. I'm recovering. Monday I get these things off, and then hopefully we can start doing video podcasts again, and everything goes back to normal. But enough of that shit. Should we just get into UFC Brooklyn real fast? We'll talk about some of that stuff. Yeah. It did happen a week ago, but there was a lot of things happened. I mean, the Greg Hardy stuff, that was kind of controversial. Of course, TJ Dillashaw, there is controversy surrounding that. I didn't see it, but, TJ is not happy about it. What else happened? Donald Cerrone and Alexander Hernandez. Man, what a fantastic fight that was. Let's start there. Alexander Hernandez, I don't know if you saw it, Lewis.
I did.
He went into that fight talking so much shit about Donald Cerrone, talking about him being one of the greatest ever, talking about him being one of the, best pound for pound fighters on the planet and all this type of stuff, and totally disrespected Cerrone. Now I get it. Confidence is great, and you do need that as a fighter. But when you've only had 2 fights in the UFC, granted, his first one was a great knockout over Beneil Dariush. His second one was a decision victory over Oliver Aubin-Mercier. When that's all you've had, that's your measuring stick. It's too soon to be talking about one of the greatest of all time. You know what I mean? It's too soon to talk about being champion and disrespecting people like Cerrone that have been around there forever, that have paid their dues in this sport, that have been there, literally done it and got the T-shirt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and fought the best of the best. I mean, honestly, Donald Cerrone only fights the best of the best every single time. So the level in which he's used to, it's I mean, first of all, it showed obviously in the fight. It was like a big brother beating up a little brother. It was so much fun to watch. He just beat him up. It's great. But yeah, there was definitely, you saw the experience factor there. Not only just the experiences in more fights, but the level of experience and how much, Cerrone's been a main event, been in the big show. I mean, at that point, they talked about it that night. He officially has the most wins in UFC history, officially has the most fights in UFC history, most fights underneath the Zuffa banner. So huge difference. And when somebody's getting that cocky, look, if you're going to be that cocky, you better fucking win, because when you lose, it is so enjoyable for everybody watching.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you said, most wins, most finishes, most bonuses, I think. So certainly well accomplished. And I enjoyed it because, as I said, Hernandez went out there and he spoke about him with no respect. Now, I get it. Cerrone, I kind of thought Hernandez was going to win that fight. From what I saw, he looked young, strong, in his prime, all the rest of it. And, of course, he talked a good game. Cerrone, he lost devastatingly to Darren Till, and there was a couple of other people that he'd lost to. And I just thought maybe his best days are behind him. And that's not an insult. That just happens to fighters. That's nature. That's what happens to human beings. But he proved everybody wrong. He looked fantastic. He was just a better fighter on the night. It's as simple as that. His experience showed, as you said. His striking was far better. He read the fights. He slipped the jabs. He countered beautifully. It was great. It was fucking awesome. And fast forward, it now looks like we may be getting Donald Cerrone versus Conor McGregor.
Yeah, they're talking shit via social media. For Conor, it's a great fight. I get it, but
they're not talking shit, Lewis. They're being far too pally for my liking. Far too pally. Donald Cerrone is kind of like, I mean, I love Donald, don't get me wrong, for everything I just said, but he's being way too friendly. It's like, call him out, great. I get it. You want the red panty night. You want the big payday. But fuck me. You know what I mean? Jesus
yeah, so
Christ,
I guess they're not trashing each other per se, but they're trying to set up that fight, and they're being very cordial and being very friendly. Look, does every fight need to be, I hate you, go fuck yourself, especially with Conor? It almost like it's weirdly refreshing to see Conor not, being the psychopath that he is. It's rare.
No, you're absolutely right, and I totally agree. But what it looks like to me is that Donald's like trying to be nice to try and get that fight.
Yeah, he doesn't want to piss anybody off.
He's like, come on, give me the fight, Conor. And not that I'm saying he's begging for it, because he's not, but he's playing the game, and he's playing the nice game. He's playing the nice game. We want to see him play the bad game. You know what I mean? That's what I want to see.
Because I think with Conor, it's a different thing, though, because you can't, if you piss Conor off, Conor knows he's going to gift Donald Cerrone that fight. Let's get real, okay? Look, Donald Cerrone is unbelievable. He's a fucking warrior. But Conor at this point doesn't need to fight Donald Cerrone. Conor can fight anybody that he wants to. He's Conor, right? So he gives Donald Cerrone that fight. It's sort of a gift. So I think in his mind, he's going, if I piss off Conor, he's not going to want to give me that gift. So let me try to go at it with another angle.
But hold on. I do understand your point, and there is validity to your point, to said point. But that's a good fight for Conor. Right now, it's a fight that Cerrone can win. It's a fight that Conor can win. If you look at Cerrone, he's been beaten by some people. Nate Diaz jumps off the page straight away. It's a fight that Conor can win. But outside of that, who is Conor going to fight? So we're talking about Khabibs. We're talking about people like that. Nate Diaz, they'll give him a way tougher fight. So realistically, you're right. Conor can go fight other people, but this is a perfect fight, the perfect stylistic matchup to come back from that last defeat. So it actually works out for both people. So Conor kind of needs that a little bit as well. Need isn't the right word. That's a strong word. It would be suitable for him.
That's the perfect pick. He's the guy everything in consideration. That is the perfect pick because it's a really winnable fight. It's a big name. It's a guy who's fought at 170, 155. You can sort of make it whatever weight class you kind of want to make it at, depending on what Conor's in the mood for. When I say it's gifting it to him, I mean that Conor could literally pick anybody at 155, 170, say, I want to fight that guy. The UFC would more than likely say, yes, whatever you want. And he could technically, there's so many different guys on that level that are sort of, there that he could just pick and choose from. So it's not
for sure. And Dana seems to be signing off on the idea, and rightly so. I mean, Cerrone, he's a big name. He's been around forever. As you just said, I think he's had 40 Zuffa fights. I mean, that's insane. Most wins, most finishes, everything we said before. He's a fan favorite. That arena, Saturday night in Brooklyn, they went crazy.
They went ape shit.
Yeah. And it was really fucking cool to see, man. It was really cool to see the crowd get behind a fan favorite like Donald Cerrone and booing Hernandez, who, listen, people talk a little bit of shit. Hernandez talked a lot of shit. But when you talk a bit of shit, you got to try and deliver it in a way which is a little endearing or a little comical or be witty. Have a little humor or a comedy or just a watchable presence. Hernandez just came in, and I'm sorry, acting like a total dipshit, an absolute asshole. He wasn't watchable. You didn't care what he was saying. You just wanted to see Cerrone beat him up. I mean, maybe that's me. That's how I felt. And now Dana's saying the fight might happen. So stand by, stay tuned. We will find out. But let's move on.
Mike, real quick, let's talk about Victory Barber, which is an amazing, amazing company that just came on board with the show. Victory Barber is a truly classic grooming line created for men by internationally renowned barber Maddie Conrad. Every product is made with high-quality ingredients and award-winning fragrances to create a line that stands out from the pack in both performance and presence. Mike, you're living by this stuff right now. If I had hair, this would be the only thing that I use in my entire life, but you've been raving about this.
No, I'm telling you, Victory Barber, these products are absolutely fantastic. And well done to the ad sales guy, Rob, for bringing these on board, because I truly love these products. They're super high quality. And listen, the proof is in the pudding. I'm telling you right now, I stand by these products. If you try these products out, you're not going to be disappointed. I mean, everybody knows I'm super stylish and my haircut is, it's one of the best. Everybody knows this. It's well spoken. But I'm using Victory Barber. That's what I'm doing these days. Claymore is a beeswax-based super clay that never finishes oily, and it creates aggressive textures in the hair. It works incredibly well in both thick and fine hair, and it smells like clean laundry. That's not your cup of tea? Well, try out Super Dry. Create that effortlessly disheveled, dry-looking hair that will make James Dean jealous. Its remarkable oil-free formula, weightless texture in the hair makes it perfect for grooming fine hair into place without making it look thinner. And of course, its woodsy scent is both fresh smelling and intoxicating. So if you want to get involved, listen, I'm telling you, these products are fantastic. Their quality is second to none. So please go to victorybarber.com, victorybarber.com, and use the promo code BYM15, 15% off. victorybarber.com, BYM15. Excellent products, fantastic facial creams, fantastic hair gels, you name it, they've got you covered. You look after yourself, you want to look good, victorybarber.com, BYM15. All right, let's get on with it. Greg Hardy, this was a big story of the night, and I've got some things to say about this, Lewis, but I'll let you lead the way. Give me the technical breakdown from the undefeated Luis J. Gomez.
Well, where can we start? Look, Greg Hardy looks great. Greg Hardy looks like a killer. He's definitely... How long has he been training MMA? 2-3 years?
Something like that, yeah. Not long.
I mean, but professional athlete obviously has been able to adapt his body to this. He looks like a killer. Nobody liked him. Coming in, you're talking about fanfare. He was getting booed by everybody, coming off like a villain. The way he kind of is carrying himself, he's really leaning into the bad guy thing, and especially it's weird because you have the whole thing with him, allegedly hitting his ex-wife, and you'd think that he would just try to put a little bit of a good guy image on himself, but he didn't give a fuck. I'm trying to remember because I was getting hammered. By that time, when you're live at a UFC event, I was drinking whiskey all night. I fell asleep on the subway home. I dangerously, on the way home from Brooklyn to Harlem, fell asleep.
Is that why you fucking just totally ignored my text and bailed on me? Because
my cell phone...
We were supposed to go and hang out afterwards, and you were nowhere to be seen. So, that explains it all, Lewis. Here's me wandering around Brooklyn like some fucking homeless Englishman. I'm like, where's Lewis, everybody? Where's Lewis? Where's Lewis? In fact, I've got a funny story about that. I got a taxi all the way back to the hotel. Yeah. And then a buddy of mine says, I'm at this little dive bar around the corner from where we are. And I thought, oh, cool. And I said, what's the address? So I got in a taxi because it was raining like crazy. I didn't want to walk. And he takes me all the way back to fucking Brooklyn, over the bridge and everything. I'm like, what are you doing? And he meant where we are by the arena, not where we are at the hotel.
So
fucking
funny.
Idiot. And I got to this little crappy bar in Brooklyn, and it was a shitty dive bar, man. It was like, it was sketchy. It was gross. Like, all the drinks were served in plastic cups. There was like some almost homeless people singing karaoke. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, yeah, this guy's one of those guys that love dive bars. I asked the guy, where's the worst dive bar in Brooklyn? That's what I want to go to. I'm like, well, the place is a shithole. And I'm sitting there, and this guy comes over, and he was trying to start a fight with me. Swear to God.
No.
It was so funny. And I couldn't be bothered. He's like, were you at the fight? I'm like, no, mate, no. And he sits down, and he starts he's drunk, and he's it was no threat to me. Let's just put it like that.
Hold on, wait a minute. Slow down.
I'm trying to ignore him and have a conversation with my buddy. And this guy sits down. He's like, were you at the fight? I'm like, no. He goes, Why not? I think you could fight. I think you could fight. I go, really? Oh, yeah. And I didn't even want to give a slight hint that I was a fighter, because then I've got to deal with that. And then they start asking questions and stuff. So I was pretending I wasn't in the UFC or anything to do with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This guy's he's going, yeah, with a bit of training, bro, I think you could go a long way. You got the physique for it and everything. I'm like, okay, all right, buddy. And then I turn my back on him again. And then I see him signal his buddies over. And his two buddies come over and they're like, either side flanking me and like trying to talk shit, and I'm trying to ignore them, but I knew what was going on. And then he spots my watch. I had a Rolex on, and he's like, I don't think you should be coming in here with a watch on like that.
Wait a minute, hold on, this is like a thuggy dude?
Yeah.
White guy, black guy, Puerto Rican?
White guy.
What?
White guy. 3 white guys. And like, I don't think you should be coming in here with that Rolex on, bro. I'm like, hey, listen, take your fucking eyes off my watch, okay? I said, whatever you want to say, whatever, but stop looking at my watch, okay, pal? Because that ain't going to end well for you.
Yeah.
And then I turned my back and carried on with my conversation. And then I could see him like through the window, the mirror behind the bar. I was keeping a little eye on him. I was talking to my buddy, but one eye was on the reflection on the mirror. And I could see them all looking at each other like what to do. And then one guy just like kind of went, nah, fuck this guy. He seems a bit too confident. And they walked away. But I was, for a second there, I was going to get mugged in Brooklyn, Lewis. And that's all your fault because you abandoned me.
No, I got hammered at the fight. I'm drinking whiskey all night. We ended up getting tickets. Dan Soder, I went with Dan Soder, hilarious comedian. He's the fucking man. Yep. We got tickets from Stipe Miocic. I guess Stipe was a guest star on Billions, who Dan is a regular actor on. And we these great third row seats. You're right, they're better than the riser seats. Fine, I'll give it to you. So I'm just getting obliterated, just drinking whiskeys all night. And at one point I'm drunk and I'm like, dude, I better slow down. Let me just get a beer. And the beers they serve here are just huge, tall boys. So I drink by the time I drank that beer, I was just done. So the main event and co-main event are just a blur to me. Just the whole, at that point, I'm just fucking, just drunkenly yelling things out, being a fucking asshole fan. But What I remember? I remember Greg Hardy looking good, but I remember him not looking like a killer. The other guy, who did he fight? Crowder was his name? So,
Alan Crowder. And allow me to interject. And that's why. Because you said before he looked outstanding, looked great and all these things. I'm thinking, some of that's correct, but it's not quite right. I mean, the fight started. Greg Hardy's, all of his fights have ended quick, right? And generally, any decent MMA fighter that ends up in the UFC, if you look at their records, their first 5, 6, 7, well, maybe back in the day, now guys are in the UFC with only 5 fights. But back in the day, you would look at people's records, and the first 10 fights against people you'd never heard of, they all ended quickly. Because at those grassroots level shows, if you're going to go the whole way, you should be disposing of the competition pretty quickly. If you show flair, if you show promise and potential. But then when you start fighting better guys, the knockouts stop coming quite as quickly. So Greg Hardy went into that fight, his 3rd or 4th fight. I think he only had 2 or 3 minutes of experience in the fight. And he went out there and initially looked good. He was swinging. He was very, very aggressive. But you could see from his footwork, you could see from like his hesitation. He was like very wound up. It was like a coiled spring. That's the inexperience. I was trying to talk about this on the post-fight show on ESPN. When you first start your fights, and you probably were saying that you were actually really cool, Lewis. I think you're actually quite contrary to popular belief. You were kind of laid back and kind of chill. But most people in a fight, they're like, oh, the hype, the tensed up, the brain's going a million miles an hour. You know what I mean? And it's all a blur. And after the fight, you have no idea what happened generally. And when you're in those moments, things can go wrong. And if you've only got 2 or 3 minutes of MMA experience and you're in the second round and the guy's on his knees, you could almost be forgiven for throwing an illegal knee. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not making excuses. I'm not making excuses for him. But when you consider it was only his 4th fight, when you consider it was co-main event in the UFC, he's vastly inexperienced. Yeah, I give him a pass on that one, if I'm honest.
Well, look, I sort of give guys a pass. Illegal maneuvers, when somebody accidentally throws an illegal knee, if somebody accidentally throws a knee, I almost always give them a pass. They lose the fight. They lose the fight. It is what it is. That's the rules. But I'm not going like, what a fucking piece of shit scumbag. I'm going like, look, they're tired. He's getting into the second round now. He's never been there before. You're mentally exhausted, physically exhausted. Your body is in a defensive mode where there's somebody that's trying to fucking take your head off. Somebody's trying to punch you, kick you, submit you, and your body is reacting. I think sometimes what happens is you just throw what's right there for you. And I think most of the time I would say 99% of the time I've seen an illegal knee in a fight, it's always been, it's just a reaction in that moment, and it's more or less unfortunate, but it doesn't seem as if there's many guys that are intentionally throwing an illegal knee because you end up losing. The punishment there is too much to get away with that illegal knee. I mean, it just sort of depends on whether or not that guy wants to stop fighting you in that moment.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, what kind of absolute scumbag would throw an illegal knee? You know, because for me, it's a tough spot, Lewis. I mean, the rules are there for a reason. And heaven forbid somebody, you don't know my history of.
I just realized as you're saying this, how many illegal knees have you thrown to people, Michael Bisping?
Well, there was quite a high profile one. I just sent it to Harrington. Bring it up if you can. The high profile one was UFC 127 against Jorge Rivera. I had a point deducted for throwing an illegal knee. And then all hell broke loose after it. So I've been there, and then on the Ultimate Fighter as well. I need somebody in the Ultimate Fighter. Yeah, go ahead.
Be honest about this, because you could really, because who cares now? It's all over, right? Nobody's looking at that Jorge.
I'm retired. Retired. I couldn't care less.
Nobody gives a shit.
No comeback. No comeback. So
my theory was nobody's throwing an illegal knee on purpose.
Yeah.
We're either one of those illegal knees on purpose and not just in a state of exhaustion and in a state of my body is just reacting.
Well, it definitely wasn't a state of exhaustion, okay?
The highest wrestling heart rate in the UFC, Michael Bisping, he doesn't have exhaustion.
Thank you very much. Took the words out of my mouth. No, it was a case of that motherfucker talked so much crap going into that fight. I was fuming. I was really mad to the point, and his cornerman, I was so mad at his cornerman as well, and I was like, if I see these people in the streets leading up to the fight this week in Sydney, I'm going to attack them. That's how mad. So I went into that fight. I was so fired up. I was like, I'm not stepping into this as a martial artist to shake and bow and, we're going to compete against one another. I thought, this guy has crossed the line and made this so personal. I'm going in there to beat your fucking ass. I'm going in there to knock you out. Let me see. Let me show it. But he was getting up.
You had him in a Muay Thai position while his knees were on the ground.
I can't see. No, but I took him down. He was getting back to his feet, and as he got up, I threw the knee.
Yeah, I know. I see. Yeah. It's fucking hysterical. You literally have your hands in a Muay Thai plum position while he's on his knees, and you go boom.
Take that, motherfucker. Chat shit, get banged, Lewis.
Baby. I know.
Harrington, I can't see Lewis. I see an empty chair, but thank you. It's a great shot, though. But yeah. Listen, and even then, in that moment, I wasn't trying to throw an illegal knee. Harrington, I'm still seeing an empty chair. That's all I see, buddy. If you could just acknowledge my existence. There we go. Here we go. Yeah, but I taken him down. He was getting up. And look, he's actually getting up. We see right now his hands leave the floor. Don't tell me his next move wasn't a knee up. His next move was definitely to get up. Okay, so anyway, there you go. I've done it. I've been there. In the heat of the moment, things go wrong. And, you throw shit. You got to remember, you're in a fist fight. You're in a highly charged environment where another human being is trying to knock you out. All I see is YouTube now, Harrington, as well, buddy, by the way. Just put Lewis back on, please.
Yeah.
So it's forgiven, certainly with his level of inexperience. But what I did like from his opponent, Alan Crowder, was I think it was the second round, was that he started talking shit. He started saying, come on, hit someone that hits back, and went for him. It's like his opponent suddenly thought, this guy can't hurt me. I'm not scared of him anymore. Yeah. And started walking him down aggressively. I did like that. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, and Alan Crowder, I mean, I'm sure he gained some fans there as well. But the knee was unfortunate. It was an unfortunate ending. I tweeted out after the fights, illegal knee and early stoppage. I was like, what a sort of a a disappointing way to end the night. But I don't want to move on to the main event just yet. If you have more to say about Greg Hardy, but he'll obviously. Yeah, he's definitely a star in the making. We'll see exactly if he can grow into the hype that is behind him. But even with the boos and the negative attention, all that stuff is good. Like in terms of like you want to have a fucking bad guy. You have the good guys and you have the heels. You had to have Michael Bisping back in the day. You have to have that heel. Otherwise, you don't make the good guy look like a good guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I said this on the post-fight show. I said, because Chael Sonnen and Ariel Helwani, they were doing another show for ESPN Radio. I could see them like just off to the side, about 100 yards away. And I said, in this sport, we have, a bad guy, a pretend bad guy. Chael P. Sonnen calls himself the bad guy. Chael's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I said, Greg Hardy. I said, what we've got right here is a real fucking bad guy. Yeah. He's chucking his wife, his girlfriend onto a pile of guns. He's kneeing down opponents. He looks like a fucking psycho. When he's on the scale, he does dead eyes, the death eyes that he does. He looks the part. And after that, Lewis, you were there. I don't know if you remember because of the whiskey, but when he left there, I thought a riot was going to start. I thought people were going to start throwing their drinks on him. He got booed so badly. It was incredible. So it's going to take a lot of balls for him to come back. But I just want to say this quickly. My interactions with him, I found him to be a really nice guy. I saw him around the hotel week of the fight. Of course, he's in good spirits and he's not going to come up and start shit with me. But he was very nice. He came over, shook his hand, had a big smile. He was very cool. Now, granted, I'm not living with him and I'm not a woman, but my little interactions were very positive.
Well, he's got to sell himself. Like, he might be the nicest guy in the world, but the way he is marketing himself and the way he's sort of positioning himself is to be this bad guy. Even I'm watching the highlights now, even after he hits him with the illegal knee, most of the time, if it's, guys that don't legitimately have bad blood, the other guy would go and go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. They would he literally just went, put his back against the cage and just stared at him with a psychotic look on his face. And you're like, this guy is like insane. He should be a pro wrestler. The way he carries himself, it's very WWE. And I think, for the UFC, they've borrowed a lot from the WWE. Obviously, they borrowed a lot from combat sports and other professional sports, but they've taken a lot of the good elements from the WWE and sort of the big showy elements. So I think he'll fit in as long as he can start winning.
Yeah, and the thing is, they spoke about his grappling and things like that. He did end up on his back for a while, and I didn't really see high level of grappling there. So he's got to go away. He's certainly got to work on some things. Definitely got to work on some things. One big thing, which is a talking point that I do want to address, is his cardio, his gas tank. He definitely needs to work on that. And here's what I want to say about that. Listen, it's not a knock on him. Fighting in the UFC, fighting professional mixed martial arts for 5-minute rounds is very taxing and it's very hard on the cardiovascular system, on the stamina system, on the muscular system. It's very hard and taxing. All the stories going into that fight, all over the news outlets, on ESPN and stuff, was that Greg Hardy may be the best athlete that we've ever seen compete inside the UFC octagon. Maybe the best athlete we've ever seen.
Really?
After one round, blowing out of his ass, absolutely exhausted, right? This is one of the toughest sports, if not the toughest sport in the world. You've got here this athlete that people are fucking jerking themselves off over, and he can't breathe after one round. And we do that for 5 rounds, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I said this on the after show as well. People should have a bit more respect for what these guys go through. Obviously I'm retired, so I'm not talking about me, but what it takes to be a professional mixed martial artist, the amount of discipline, the amount of training, sacrifice, and all this stuff it takes to get to the top, it's not fucking easy, my man. And you've had a little taste of that. Very,
very little. And yeah, I said it, especially after the fight. I really felt it. I was like, God damn. There's no way to put unless you do it, unless you go train, go to a gym, spar a little bit, just go spar. Go spar with a friend. Fuck it. Put some headgear on, put some gloves on, go spar for 1 minute with a friend. See how you feel at the end of it. If you've never trained before, see exactly how you feel. It's insane. So yeah, I think that you see that a lot of the time. You see guys that are really athletic and really, really good shape, and I think it's just because you just don't know what's coming. If it's really built into it, if you understand anything about the way exercise works, you have to sort of mix things up and confuse your body and not let your body adapt to the load that you're putting on it. And when you look at sort of the foundation that mixed martial arts is built on, anything could happen. There's so much happening at any given moment that you never can really get adapted. Even if you fight the same guy 10 times, it's not the same thing's going to happen over and over again. It's like maybe they're going to go really grappling heavy that time, or maybe they're going to be kicking a lot. Yeah. There's so many more different variables that it's fucking crazy. The first time I ever sparred, it was the most physically exhausting thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Yeah, it's not easy. All right, so there you go. Greg Hardy. Kind of looking forward to seeing him back. It'll be interesting to see who they match him up against. Again, if they're going to maximize his potential, then they have got to match him up carefully. A good grappler, I think it clearly showed. A good grappler is going to give him a ton of problems. But in the UFC, you're not supposed to get carefully matched up. You're supposed to be able to just sink or swim. You know what I mean? If you can cut it, you cut it. If you can't, unfortunately, out you go. So it really is going to be interesting to see what the UFC do matchmaking-wise. Now, all right, move on. Main event. We've been talking about this a while, but the Brooklyn fights, but still, it is what it is. Cejudo, TJ Dillashaw. Everybody knows. If you're listening to this podcast right now, you know what happened last week. TJ got knocked out not knocked out. He got stopped in about 30 seconds, of course. Cejudo was delighted. TJ was pissed off. TJ went backstage saying to everybody it was taken from him. He refuses to believe that he was beat of Henry Cejudo. Listen, I get it. It's horrible. It's heartbreaking. You go out there, you make all these sacrifices, you put your life on hold, you put yourself through this crazy exercising regime, you make all the sacrifices, you turn things down, you spend time away from your family, you're out of town, you're training, you're sore as hell, you push yourself to the limit. And you want to win, you want to succeed. This is the venture, the mission that you've gone on. And when you lose, it's hard, but you've got to accept it. You've got to accept it. He was fucking beaten. Simple as that. Could it have gone a little bit longer? I know that Dana White said, super fight, 2 champions of the world, 2 of the very best to do it. You should let it go longer. And that's a valid point. I do hear that. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But I think all that would have happened was TJ would have eaten 3 or 4 more shots. It didn't look to me like TJ was on the road to recovery, and Cejudo just looked so much better. He looked comfortable. He looked bigger. He looked composed. And he got off on him quick. And sometimes that's the luck of the draw. If the fight was to happen again now, maybe it would go different. Maybe it wouldn't. There's a very good possibility that it would. But unfortunately, the set of circumstances that happened on Saturday night was TJ Dillashaw got beat in 30 seconds, and you got to fucking own up to it.
Yeah, watching it at the time, I remember thinking this is an early stoppage, being like that. They should have let it go on a little more. I'm watching it again right now. It's hard to say. He wasn't out really. He lost that exchange. It's hard. I'm not a referee. I'm not a professional. I'm not looking at it through that set of eyes. I'm just saying I've watched championship fights over and over and over again, and everyone brings up the example of Brock Lesnar versus Shane Carwin and the fucking beatdown that Shane Carwin put on Brock Lesnar in that first round, and nobody would have complained about it wasn't Big John, it was Dan Miragliotta, I believe, letting it go on. Nobody would have complained if he would have stopped that fight, but he let it go on, and Brock was able to come back and win. And I think that you want to see a definitive loser. And TJ is enough of an athlete for me to, looking at that, he didn't seem like he was out. He seemed like he was still springing around and jumping around. It wasn't like, what did you see to somebody like this? Because I'm watching it again right now, and he didn't seem like he's out. But do you see something that I don't see as a fan that could kind of counter that argument?
Yeah, for sure. Listen, of course you're right. And of course you can sit here and come up with circumstances and evidence of where fights in the past have been allowed to go longer. Okay? Of course, probably every single UFC event, there's a fight where people are like, whoa, referee, stop the fucking fight. Right?
Get in there.
So there's so many examples, but there's also many examples where people go, shit, that was stopped a little bit early. You know what I mean? So there's good and bad on both sides. And it's a hard job for the referee, okay? The referee's job is fighters' safety. That's the main thing that they're there for. Fighters want to fight by definition. I always tell my referees before I go out there, don't stop this fight, motherfucker. Okay? Don't worry about me. Worry about him. I'm good. And he's like, hey, I'll just do my job. Right? And their job is to protect us from ourselves. Just like we say, cornermen's jobs are to protect fighters from themselves. Now, that fight in question, could it have gone longer? Yeah, sure. But what did we see? We saw TJ go down to the mat, I think on 3 separate occasions. The fight was 30 seconds long. He got dropped on 3 separate occasions, right? His eyes rolled back in the back of his head. That last punch, I think it was a left hook that put him down, was particularly nasty. And the way that he fell. And then Cejudo was carrying on, swarming on him with more pressure. Now, of course, TJ is a tough motherfucker. There's a reason why he's the bantamweight champion, because he's super tough and he will continue. And he wasn't out cold. And anytime it's like that, yeah, there's discussion. There's an opportunity. There's a reason to maybe be pissed off. But when the referee steps in, because you get dropped 3 times in 30 seconds, there's no one to blame but yourself. Because you shouldn't be fucking hitting the canvas 3 times in 30 seconds.
Yeah. The first one looked like a slip. The second one, it was almost like it felt like partially grappling, and then he started getting caught with like these shots. It's just, it wasn't an emphatic victory. It wasn't an emphatic stoppage. He didn't put an exclamation mark on it. He certainly left the question posed, was it an early stoppage? Of course. That was my initial reaction. Like, oh, shit. That was quick. It was impressive, but maybe it was an early stoppage. Yeah, for sure. That narrative exists. Yeah. It does. Of course it does. We're all talking about it. We're talking about it now. But as a fighter, you've got to admit defeat. Yeah.
You can't live in denial.
Well, you're playing by the rules.
That was taken. It was taken from me. It was taken from me. Well, it was taken from you because you were put on your ass 3 times and the other guy was punching you in the face.
And would TJ have said it was taken from Henry had it been the exact same circumstances where it was quote unquote early stoppage? He would have never been like, oh, well, hold on, let's reset, let's do this again, because that was taken from Cejudo. The reality is, I don't think that the referee had any sort of bias. I think the referee, when you watch it in slow motion, the hook that actually dropped him the last time, he really caught him hard, right? And the referee's right there. Yeah. You hear the crack.
That was the reason the fight was stopped. It was that final shot.
Yeah, it was nasty.
All the others, it wasn't too bad. As you said, one of them was a bit of a slip, and the head kicks didn't really connect. But that final shot, that was.
Well, I think it was a combination of the referee watching the ground and pound because Cejudo had some nasty ground and pound in there, and TJ's looking like he's in trouble. He'd been dropped. He's on the ground. He gets up, then he gets cracked really hard. Before he even hit the ground, the referee was jumping in to stop it because that was like the icing on the cake, and he was like, fuck this. He's taking too much damage. I don't think the referee realized exactly that TJ was that tough and going to be right there, because you see TJ rolls right towards Cejudo. It's not like he was like confused where he was and, curled up. He literally went right to go for Cejudo's leg. I don't think it's a bad stoppage. I think the referees are doing their job, and I think they're they have a 1 second difference to this guy's being called. Either way, they're saying this guy, they should take his job because it's an early stoppage and they're taking money out of these guys' pockets. Or the next time where he doesn't stop it and this guy has fucking brain damage or can't fight ever again, now they're saying that he's responsible for hurting this guy. So I think it's better to err on the side of safety for the fighters and the longevity of the fighters than not. So I'm not going to say it's an early stoppage by the referee. I just think it's sort of unfortunate when you're watching a pay-per-view, you're there live, you see the crowd, you don't want it to sort of end that way. You want to see a finite, real ending, and it just felt a little bit premature.
Hey, 100%. 100% agree with everything you said. And as I say, I sympathize with TJ because it erred on the side of an early stoppage. Maybe it was an early stoppage, but I don't think it changed the outcome of the fight. Had the fight continued, he probably would have taken more damage and lost maybe another 10, 15 seconds later. But yeah, probably an early stoppage. And it does give TJ a grounds to be pissed off. Doesn't give him a ground to not accept any responsibility for losing the fight, And a good friend of mine is referee Mark Goddard, one of the best in the business. Maybe we should try and get Mark Goddard on here at some point. We'll give him a call and see what his opinion is. Go on, you were going to say something.
Well, I was going to say, and to be honest with you, TJ didn't lose his belt. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's annoying. Had TJ gone another 10, 15 seconds and been definitively stopped, I'd be going, TJ, you need to fucking melt that belt down and send it in a gift package to Cejudo because you don't deserve that belt. Now, in my mind, I'm going like, okay, well, it was sort of an early stoppage. I don't really have an issue with it. I'd like to see them fight again. And they set up a much bigger fight down the line between Cejudo and TJ Dillashaw, because now it's like, holy shit, you know, they've set up sort of a real rivalry there that they didn't have before. So, you know, in the bigger picture, I think it'll be better for TJ in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually said to Cejudo, because he was saying after the fight, he said, listen, I'll let TJ fight me again at 125. And I said to him, and it seemed like I was pro Cejudo for saying this, but more of as a fan and more if I was Henry Cejudo, I said, no, you shouldn't do that. You should fight him at 135. And he said, why? I said, well, you gave him a chance to be champ by fighting him at 125. You beat him. Now let him give you a chance of being champ and fight him at 135. You know what I'm saying?
And nothing to lose.
Beyond, you know, and nothing to exactly, and nothing to lose. But for me, the bigger thing that the bigger picture that this arises for me or brings to my attention is weight cutting in MMA. This is what caused TJ Dillashaw to lose that fight. And all week long, he was running around Brooklyn, looking in great shape. Obviously, you know, in the fight shape of his life. He was super ripped. He never had his shirt on all week. Shirt off, glasses on. Conor McGregror, eat your heart out all week. But you know, and of course, he's proud of himself. He's in the best shape of his life. But he was already in the best shape of his life at 135, if you know what I'm saying. He always looked like an outstanding athlete. He was always super ripped. And to lose another 10 pounds from that frame that was a very, very low body fat percentage, how do you think he's getting there? How do you think he's losing that extra 10 pounds? It's coming from muscle, for sure, and then also water weight. Of course, you're cutting weight, you're removing fluids from the body and around the brain, and it affects your ability to take a shot. And I think that is the biggest thing. In mixed martial arts, the performances are suffering, careers of length is being suffering, the fans' experience is suffering because fighters are running out of steam. So many things, and weight cutting needs to go. It needs to be outlawed. People die, and it's only a matter of time before more people start dying due to weight cuts. At 135, Dillashaw might not have got dropped. At 125, going through that weight cut, you know, he couldn't take the punches. And what do people do? What do people do in the UFC? They cut weight. And he cuts weight. Two people cut weight, and they go down and weigh in. Then they go back up to the same weight. They all might as well fight at the same fucking weight class that they walk around at.
It makes no sense. It's just this other element, which I understand. There's a weird, like, you know, I think the wrestlers really like it because it's sort of it's built into their foundation. It's like, you know, it's part of their process, and you know, I guess it's an advantage for the wrestlers. The guys aren't used to cutting weight throughout their high school and college careers. I mean, it's sort of a science and an art in itself. I think it would take a few months to figure itself out, to correct itself, you know, and I know, and this is one of the topics I know we want to talk about, is the possibility of Askren versus Khabib at 165, because I guess Askren's been calling out Khabib, but I think if they did shift those weight classes, which it's sort of been a rumor for a little while, I think that should be something that they do with the shift. If they made it 155, 165, 175, 185, and so on, I think that they should also make it so that you weigh in right before the fight or the day of the fight, where they completely cut out the weight cutting element. And it would be weird for the first few events. People would go, what is this? But it would just adjust. It would adjust very quickly, and everyone would be fighting in a much healthier way. And yeah, it is a bizarre old school element to the fight game that doesn't seem to make much sense.
Well, I mean, as you say, I mean, first of all, fighters should be fighting at their natural weight, you know, because it's dangerous. That's the main thing. It's dangerous. And we've been very lucky in mixed martial arts that fighters haven't passed away more. But as more and more people do this, there's more events, more fighters, techniques get better. It's a sad reality. It's a tough sport. People are going to pass away. And I think if people were competing at their natural weight, that would definitely, the risk would be massively minimized. And as you say, wrestlers, yeah, they've got the advantage. But now anybody that's involved in high-level MMA, they have a network around them that know how to cut weight. So everybody's cutting 20 fucking pounds to put it all back on again the next day. And the idea was initially that you're getting a weight and size advantage over your opponent, but you're not, because your opponents are doing the same thing. And if they're not doing the same thing, they're in a lower weight class. So the whole exercise is pointless. It absolutely makes no sense. But TJ lost that fight. Congratulations to Henry Cejudo. And
we want to see the rematch, though, right? It makes me want to see a rematch at 135. Good for Cejudo. Have him come up.
135.
Yeah.
135 for sure. 100%. It doesn't make sense. The fights happened at 125. TJ didn't look good. Right now, I know if TJ was listening to this, he'd be like, "Fuck you, Bisping. What the hell is your problem?" I like TJ. I've got nothing against him, but the fact is, going down, me making 185 wasn't easy for me. Making 125 obviously didn't work out for him. 135, we've seen him. He can take shots. He took Cody Carbrandt's best shots. He's incredible. He's one of the best fighters in the planet. I'm not taking anything away from him. That wasn't his night. I want to see the rematch at 135, and that's about all I've got to say on that, Lewis.
Yeah, and if TJ heard that, I don't think he would be upset because you're saying if he fought him you're saying that weight cut was a major reason why you feel as if he lost that fight. So, yeah, it's a compliment if anything else.
In my humble opinion, I wasn't around him. I wasn't part of his team, but I'm just saying I know from experience when you make weight like that, it takes away from everything. Your ability to take a shot, your strength, just fucking everything. Anyway, I'm bored of that. What else have we got, Lewis? What else is on the dock?
Well, Ben Askren, and talk to me about this, Harrington. What happened here? Ben Askren, is he talking shit with Khabib, or he's talking shit to Khabib? What happened?
So apparently Khabib was sitting, having a conversation with some younger students at AKA, and they got a video of him basically saying, yes, this man, he comes over from 1FC, but I see him, he gets smashed there in 1FC. Now you're in UFC. Show me you can do it on this level before you talk all this shit. There are levels to this game, and he needs to understand that. Welcome to the UFC. So Askren responded today on Twitter, basically saying, I'll show you the levels to this when you're underneath me, and I'm pounding the shit out of you. Let me pull up the exact
Wow.
Maybe choose the words differently next time. When you're underneath me, and I'm pounding you into oblivion.
Okay, here
when I'm 7 inches deep into your throat.
Okay, so that was me misquoting it. All right, just heard that what at Team Khabib said. He will find his levels when he can't get off his back, and I am big brothering him. Will fight him at for 165-pound title in October/November of this year.
Okay.
All right. So, first of all, listen, I like Ben Askren. We had him on the show last week. Fantastic interview, by the way. And if you're listening to this, Ben, thanks again. And we'd love to have you on the show again sometime. But calm the fuck down, okay? You haven't even fought in the UFC yet, and you're calling out Khabib. Of course you're going to call out Khabib. Khabib's the man right now. Khabib's the lightweight champ. Khabib wrestles bears. Khabib's building wells in fucking Nigeria. Khabib's being an eagle off the side of the octagon. Khabib's the man, okay? To beat the man, you got to beat the man, and he beat the man, and Khabib is the man, okay? So, of course, Askren wants to come in and call out Khabib. You don't get to walk in and fight the biggest star in the UFC right now on your first fight. So well done trying to get some headlines and stuff, but it isn't going to happen. He's fighting Robbie Lawler. We'll see how he does. Khabib, if I was Khabib, I'd just ignore him. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to Ben Askren. As I just said, Ben's awesome, but there is levels, and there's multiple levels. There's not just levels in terms of, I'm a good wrestler, you're an okay wrestler. There's levels in terms of star power, okay? And Ben has yet to get to that level. You've got to earn your stripes. You've got to earn your keep. You got to fight your way into those big fights, Right now, I haven't seen Ben Askren fight. Can you think of his 1FC fights? The world is right now not going, oh my God, Ben Askren's fighting in the UFC. It's sick, okay? There's a potential for that to happen because he's an incredible talent. He's 18-0, and if he continues doing what he's doing, then he probably will get to fight these blockbuster fights, GSP, Khabib, who knows what. But you got to earn your stripes first.
I agree. Yes, I agree. However, he's doing what he has to do. Look, he's the biggest star outside of the UFC to be signed for the UFC. Definitely biggest undefeated star. I guess it's up for debate, but very huge star to a certain degree. And he's doing what he needs to do in order to set up the foundation for a very successful UFC career. Shoot for the moon and you'll land among the stars. So yeah, shoot for Khabib and he'll land amongst Nick Diaz or somebody else that's really valuable and fucking famous. He's probably not going to get a Khabib fight, but he beats Robbie Lawler at 170. Well,
Hey, listen. That's an amazing start to a UFC career, to walk in at 18-0 with a lot of credentials that a lot of people have respect for, to take out former champion and legend of the sport, and no doubt future Hall of Famer Robbie Lawler in your first fight. That's a great feather in your bow or in your cap or whatever the fuck it is. Then if he follows that up with a couple of other good opponents, yeah, we could have a potential superstar in our hands, especially when you consider the fact that he talks so well. He's very eloquent. He's very intelligent. But we're going to see how he fights. We're going to see if he can cut the mustard in the UFC, which I'm sure he can. I think he can. Will he deliver the goods? And will he deliver the goods in a way that you want to see your UPS delivery truck driver turning up? Like, you don't want to see him showing up hungover and delivering the goods in a way where you get the goods, but you wasn't happy with the delivery service. You want to see him showing up with a feather boa on and a big smile on his face and honking the horn. What I'm saying is he going to have fan-friendly fights? Is he going to have fights that people want to see, or is he going to take them down and dry hump them to death? Because no one wants to see that, Lewis. I don't give a fuck how technical that is. And I understand it is technical. But if you're just going to take someone down and lie on them for 3 rounds, I don't want to see that.
Well, I think that was sort of the narrative on Ben Askren's style for a little while, but I think he was stopping people. Toward the end of his career in Bellator, I know he started stopping people. He was sort of answering those questions and being a little bit more ferocious. I'm a big fan of Ben Askren. Here's the thing. We've watched guys like GSP and Randy Couture become massive stars with really boring styles. So what he's doing, the way he talks shit and the way that he utilizes social media and the way he's calling out the biggest of the best guys, even if he decided to dry hump people, if he stays undefeated and can do it and still intrigue people and get people to want to see him fight, he doesn't even necessarily have to be exciting. GSP has never fought, I shouldn't say never. GSP fought an exciting style until he won that title and then stopped giving a fuck.
No. Well, I was going to say GSP was super fucking exciting when he came onto the scene.
Yeah.
Don't talk shit about Randy Couture. Jesus Christ. Again, Mount Rushmore of MMA, Lewis. You've got him jerking off and now he's got a boring style. No, stop right there. Randy Couture was one of the legends and godfathers of this sport. Classic comparison for Ben Askren, of course, is Khabib. Khabib does have that style, but he's not a ground and pound he's not a lay and pray type guy. Khabib's ground and pound is fucking ferocious. Yes, what is he trying to do? He's trying to take everybody down. But once he gets you down, it's almost painful to watch the power and the ferocity of the strikes that he delivers. And then he's looking for submissions. He's looking to finish the fight the whole time.
Yeah,
but that's how he gets you down to start the process, because he's probably not going to knock you out on the feet, but he's looking to start the process on the floor, So, listen, I'm looking forward to Ben. I'm looking forward to see what he can do, what he brings to the table, if he can live up to the hype. And I want to see him go the whole way. I really do. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. I do think that what's kind of interesting to watch right now is we keep on hearing 165. It keeps on popping up. And it's not popping up because of Dana White. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt.
Not a problem.
But I'm telling you right now. I am telling you right now. Right now, bold prediction time. What is my bold prediction, Lewis? I got a bold prediction.
I think your bold prediction is going to be, because it wouldn't be that bold to say that there is not going to be a 165 million class. I think your bold prediction is going to be by the year end.
Stop. Don't take it. Don't take my bold prediction.
You asked me what you thought the bold prediction was.
I know, but I'm like, if he actually guesses it, I'm like, you motherfucker, you took the wind out of my sail.
Good.
Right, take a mental log of my bold prediction. Take it. You got it?
Yeah, mental log. Go ahead.
All right. If it is what it is, say. If it's not, then all right, that works out. My bold prediction is, and I'm telling you right now, Dana White said they're not doing a 165-pound division.
Yeah.
Okay? But we know things change all the time. And I'll tell you right now, if they are going to do a 165-pound belt division, it's going to be for Donald Cowboy Cerrone taking on Conor McGregor. Ooh. That is a fact, because they want Conor to be the champion. They want him to have a belt, and it doesn't look like he's going to get it back at lightweight anytime soon. Hold on. Donald Cerrone, advocate for 170, advocate for 155, fits into 165 perfectly, as does Conor McGregor. And it's a fight that Conor will probably be the favorites on at the bookies. Oh, my God. Get a new fucking belt designed right now. Right now. You telling me that's not going to happen?
It's a great bold prediction.
It's a 165-pound belt. Fact. Maybe not fact.
Well, look, Yes, I don't. Yes, maybe you're right. I do think that it will end with there being 165-pound division. There's too much buzz about it. The fighters keep on talking about it, and you've talked about this before, sort of fighters being able to talk themselves into fights, and the more vocal they get, the more the fans start kicking up dust, the more people online start talking about it. So it's something that's been talked about over and over and over again. I think everyone wants to see it, but me and Harrington were kind of debating this before we got on. I'd love to get your take on this.
Please.
If they did move it to 140, 135, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, do you think they should 95. You do think they should do 195? Because I was saying I don't even think there's a need.
Whoa. That is the main one. All these little cocksuckers, it drives me crazy. I told you before. 155, 30, 25, 35, 45, 55. They'll get a nice little 10. 65 makes sense. But 55 to 70 is only 15 pounds. 85 to 205, that's 20 pounds. We're talking a real weight difference there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean
55, 65, 75, 85. Hold on. Let's just cut out the 95 because those meatheads can do it. No. If that's how it's got to be, it should be 10 pounds all the way up. It should be 90, 85, 95, 205, and maybe even a cruiserweight at 215. I don't know. Maybe.
This is what I would do.
225. Yeah, that's better. 225 is good.
This is what I would do. I would do 135. I would get rid of 125. Do 135, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, 205, 225, 226 plus.
What have you got against 205ers that trying to make 185?
Where are these undersized 205 but too big for 185-pound guys? Where are these guys?
Bro, you are looking at one right now.
You're retired.
I have a conversation with one multiple times a week, but it killed me getting down to 185, and most of the guys at light heavyweight walk around at 245, 250 pounds. I've never seen that kind of weight in my life. When I got super out of shape when I was doing the Ultimate Fighter season 9 and I was a fat bastard, I was 233 pounds, right? And that was like really out of shape and it wasn't pretty, right? A lot of light heavyweights, Forrest Griffin was 250, 255, Rampage, 250, 255. You know what I mean? So that for them to get down to 205, yeah, it's difficult, but they do it. For me, I was walking on the scale at 205, but 185 is a bit of a stretch. So, yes, Lewis, I'm an advocate for 195. And if you stop fucking making a case for it, I'm going to fall out with you.
I agree with you, Mike.
Oh, is that Daniel Cormier?
Yeah, it's Daniel Cormier.
That's nice.
Broadcast.
God bless. I agree with me too.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I just don't see that once we start getting up there. I don't see there being as many cases. Who are the other guys that you think would make great cases for 195?
I don't know. I'm not going to go through them all. But here's the thing that Dana said, and Dana's got a really good point. It was actually a fantastic argument. But if you alter all the weights, then it will have an impact on it. But Dana said he doesn't want to do a 165-pound division because all the people that can't win a belt at 155 and can't win a belt at 170, they're all going to run to 165. And he's right. He is right. But if you change it to 55, 65, 75, 85 throughout it all, you create one or two different divisions. But you will see some people go to the 65. You'll see some people go to the 75. And to get rid of the 170.
It'll also figure itself out. It all corrects itself. After a little bit of time, you will just see everyone will fall into their place the right way. And as long as everything is fair and everything is even, like, who really cares? They can make whatever weight classes they want.
Yeah, no, of course. And not to mention the fact that now for the UFC, they've got more champions. They got more fights. They got more more demand than ever to put on superstar fights, and they'd have more champions. Instead of going from 55 to 70, 85, 205, which is 4 divisions, you'd have 55, 65, 75, 85, 95, 205. You got 6 champions now. You'd have an extra 2 belts.
And you left off 35 and 45.
Well, no, but I just didn't want to bore everybody by showing my math. 25, 35, 45, 55, 65. I started at 55. We get it. There's a 45 and a 35 before 55. I just didn't feel the need to go through them all. But anyway, you create more champions for the UFC. So therefore, more stars, more pay-per-view stars, more money being generated for the company. And it's a sign of progression. There should be more belts inside the UFC. I mean, if you look at boxing, I think it's every 2 or 3 pounds, there's a different weight division. That's a little extreme. I think 10 pounds is the perfect scenario.
I agree. And I think we're going to probably see it. You know, usually where there's smoke, there's fire. And you start to see the foundation of these things all being set up. What did you think of the new belt? I don't like it. I have to be I don't like the way the new belt looks. Pull it up, Harrington.
Bro, are you serious?
You like it?
I love it.
You love it.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Henry Cejudo came up to the post-fight desk on ESPN, and oh my God, I was so jealous. I was like, wow, I might come out of retirement and knock out Robert Whittaker just to get one of these things. I'm telling you, put that in your fucking headlines. I will. That belt is sick, and it's got a nice little red, white, and blue for the UK on it. You know, which obviously I won the belt, so it's on there, which it means a lot to me. I'm very, very proud of that. I'm so happy and proud to see the UK represented, you know, ultimately because I won the belt. So that makes me happy, makes me full of pride. But I also want one. I want one so bad. They're fucking sick, Lewis, and you're hating. If you don't like that belt, it's only because you haven't been up close to it. I'm telling you, man, they're sick.
You know what it is? It's not even, it is beautiful. It's more or less, show the old UFC belt.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Guess what I heard? Guess what I heard last week as well? Right, show the old belt. We need a side-by-side. That's what we need. Yeah. Split screen it.
No, not that one. I'm talking about that one.
Christ. That's it. Not the best shot. Do you know what I heard last week, though, Lewis?
What'd you hear?
Again, that's a terrible shot, Harrington. It does not show it off. The downlight is terrible. It looks like it's wrapped around an invisible Henry Cejudo's waist. You can't see the medallions on either side. You know, not a good shot, not a good try. Lewis, look at that. That's beautiful, though. Anyway, all right, enough with the belts.
What'd you hear? What'd you hear about last week?
Harrington's is making me feel quite nauseous with his scrolling of the Instagram, of the internet. Rashad Evans, obviously former champion. I was working with him last week. Can I see Lewis again, please, Harrington? I'm just seeing belts. Rashad Evans, former champion, has a belt at home. I don't know how many he has. I don't know if he defended the belt or not, but he definitely has at least one when he knocked out Forrest Griffin. He was having a conversation with Dana White, and Dana White told him that the old belts, the ones that we have, are worth $300,000 each.
That's what he told him.
That's what Dana White told
We've been debating that. We've been debating that, but I don't know if that's true.
Well, I know that's what I thought, because I was like, mine's just gathering dust back there, and there's another one in the other room just gathering dust. If I know that they're worth $600,000 between them, I might
sell one. You don't need two.
I might get them insured for one, and then they get stolen. I'm joking. I might get them insured, or I might at least put them in like some kind of case and keep the dust off them. But yeah, apparently Rashad Evans swears that they're worth $300,000 a piece, which is I was happy. I was like, oh, great, that's good to know.
You should sell one and buy me a car.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. I thought either get them insured and look after them better, or maybe I'll just sell one and buy Lewis a house. Or
I said a car. Yeah. I didn't say a house. You're going to be an asshole. Buy me a fucking car. A Volkswagen. It's not a big deal.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that was my train of thought. I'll get him a Volkswagen. I'll lose my belt. I'll sell it. I'll buy him a clapped out old Volkswagen Beetle that he'll never drive. Do you even have your driver's license?
No, but you know what? If I had a car, I would be motivated to get my license. Harrington, what? You want to chime in?
So according to something that I'm reading, Chris Weidman says that the approximate value of the old belt was $330,000, and the new belt is worth even more.
Ooh,
could be as much as $500,000.
Yeah, well, because that new belt, it's beautiful. It really is a work of art. When you get up close to it and you check it out, I can see why that's worth much more. And what they're going to do is for every defense, they're going to put in an extra jewel and stuff. But what that sounds to me is like you're not going to get another belt every time you win the belt.
That belt's going to be passed back and forth.
Well, no, that belt's going to be your belt. And if you defend it, they'll put an extra jewel in. And then if you lose it, then maybe the champion gets a new one. But you'll only get one. That's what that would lead me to believe. If they're going to make adjustments to the belt every time.
Yeah, they confirmed that. So the belt, you're just going to get an extra ruby on it, and it'll be ready for the post-fight conference.
Wow. Yeah, so I think it's not even that. Yes, you're probably right. From a design standpoint, the newer belt probably looks better, but it's just sort of like being an old school thing. I'm used to it. I see it. You see something new. It's almost when the UFC changed their intro. Remember when it was the for the longest, it was just the Gladiator intro, and it just... Yeah. I loved it. And when they made that new intro, the new intro was graphically better, right? It was cool. It looked better. It was much more updated. It was way more 2015 or whatever they made the new one. But it still made me go, nah, I like the other one better. I don't give a shit. I love the Gladiator intro.
Yeah, Harrington, bring up that music, what they used to play. What was it, Face the Pain or something like that? It was awesome. I loved it. It started off and the Gladiator was on his knee and he'd grab a little bit of sand and he'd get up. And I remember being backstage, I just got in the UFC, I'd watched it a little bit, and I'm backstage and they have the TV monitor on in the room, and then when the pay-per-view starts, and then the Gladiator shit, oh my God, the chills that would give you, you know what I mean, knowing that's going to be me. I'm going to be in there soon, I'm fighting main event. Oh, listen to it.
It's the best.
That's beautiful. Something about like opera singing like that, just like, yeah, crank that shit up.
Oh, this is an actual intro.
Get the bang. Oh, there we go. Face the pain.
Face the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I miss that. I do. I recognize in the world of ESPNs and Fox Sports and corporate intros and modern times, and times are changing. You got to change things, but that was nice. It was a killer intro. It really was. It really was.
Yeah. All right, really quick, Mike. Let's just talk about BetDSI, which is one of my favorite sponsors. If you guys don't know, BetDSI is an amazing, amazing website that you can gamble on anything. Obviously, mixed martial arts year round, but the Super Bowl is coming up in next weekend, which is always a lot of fun. I don't give a shit about football at all, but you throw a little bit of cash on the Super Bowl. All of a sudden, I'm wearing all the colors of the sports teams. I'm jumping up and down on the couch. It just adds a whole other element of watching the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anything. If you have money involved, invested in anything, whether it's sports, whether it's the gang fight between the kids that I'm watching outside right now, it's like, listen, if I've got $20 on the other kid beating up Lucas, I'm sorry, I'm cheering for the other kid. My bad, Lucas. And if BetDSI.com offer odds on that, I'll go for it. So if you want to put money on MMA, you want to put money on the Super Bowl or Lucas getting beat up, what you got to do is go to BetDSI.com. They've been in business for years. They've got a great reputation, fast, easy-to-use mobile playing interface, history of fast payments, and, of course, we have a great deal. If you go to BetDSI.com and use the promo code BYM20, they're going to give you up to a 60% bonus cash. So that would turn, for example, $1,000 into $1,600 to play with. Or if you put 100 down, it becomes 160. 10 becomes 16. 500 becomes 800, I think. So there you go. Man, my math is crazy. BetDSI.com, promo code BYM120. And let's carry on. Just real fast, because we'll wrap things up shortly. I need to pee really badly.
Well, why don't you go pee, and I'll do the plugs for YouTube and guests and all that stuff real quick.
Go ahead.
Come back, get some questions.
BRB.
Talk about Fedor and Bader real quick. Get your picks for that as well. Look, guys, you love the show. You can subscribe right now. You can watch the show for free every Monday, typically at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. GasDigitalNetwork.com/live is the website. You don't need to subscribe or anything. You can just go to the URL and watch the live streams. We tweet it out as well when we do the shows. The latest 15 episodes are available on iTunes and YouTube. But you should know that every episode we've ever done is available at GasDigitalNetwork.com. 111 episodes deep now. You get them on demand, ad-free, uncensored, live chat, and more. Use the promo code BYM at GasDigitalNetwork.com for a 14-day free trial. Also, if you guys love the show, please go subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. Just search Believe You Me Podcast or Michael Bisping Podcast on YouTube, and you can just subscribe. We appreciate all the subscribers. And if you're on Apple, go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star ranking, positive review. You can subscribe there as well. So there's so many different ways where you guys can get the podcast for free, download it, watch it, boom. We love the fucking support. Tell a couple friends about the show. It's such a big deal every time we see you guys spreading the word. That's the cool thing that we get all the time is, hey, I just showed my friend the podcast. He fucking loves it. She loves it. That is the best thing I could ever hear. If you tell me you're going on a road trip with some friends and you throw on an episode because we're talking about some relevant MMA stuff with some buddies who like the sport, that is the number one thing you can do, because every time you tell a friend, typically they fall in love with the show, and it's a really big deal the more you guys spread the word for us. So
yeah, no, it's beautiful. It really is. I mean, this is it's a strong word to use, but it feels like we're almost getting like this cult following. So if you're one of those guys that is subscribing, telling everybody, leaving comments, we fucking appreciate it. We really do, man. We really do. We love doing the show, and we love the feedback, and we love that you get our sense of humor and those guys just talking shit for a couple of hours. Okay, I guess we've got to discuss this quickly, and I'm going to be careful what I say here, because this guy's going to start thinking that I've got something against him, and I really don't. But of course, I'm talking about Jon Jones. We're talking about picograms. We're talking about tests, failed tests, post-fight tests. We're talking post-UFC 232. We said, well, I asked him before the fight, Jon Jones, I said, what happens when you fail the post-fight test? Because, of course, you know, the pulsing picograms are in his system for about a year or whatever. I said, if that's the case, then surely they will show up afterwards. And lo and behold, that has come true. It has come true. VADA, they tested him, another anti-doping organization, and they found, I hate saying this word again, picograms. They found more picograms in his body, which, to be honest, stands to reason. If the science that they said prior to the fight was that, listen, this is going to be detectable for a while, well, then that stands to reason that it would still be in his system. And remember, we spoke about this a few weeks ago. When they weren't in his system, I thought that was a little curious. I thought, oh, that's very convenient. But now there's another test, and he did test positive. So I think, if anything, this actually helps Jon Jones, showing that the different labs, the different tests, some find him clean, some are finding him to test positive. You know, it shows an inconsistency, it shows discrepancies, and it shows the science that maybe this stuff will be there for a long time. Now, of course, black and white, they shouldn't be in his fucking system, simple as that. But if we believe the narrative, yes, he's been penalized for this. It was from 2 years ago, and it's still pulsing in his system. Now, that's for them to decide. It's not for me. But if that is the case, it's very unusual. It's very, very unusual, and it seems like he's getting special treatment. But if that is the case, that is the case.
Yeah, I don't like it. You know, it is what it is. You know, nothing's really changed. It's sort of the same exact stance that we had when it first came out. It's like, yeah, obviously he did something shady. It would, if it didn't show up after the fight, I think it would have been shadier. Like, all right, what did you do to hide it now? So what do you do? You're doing something, you're masking something. So it was probably better for the sake of argument. It sort of validated what he was saying and the science behind it. But either way, I don't like it. I don't trust Jon Jones. I'm not a fan of Jon Jones. I really, 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 really hope that Anthony Johnson can pull off the upset. I think it is a...
Smith.
No, I hope Anthony Johnson comes back. And no, you got to hear me out, Michael Bisping. I don't make mistakes on this show. I hope Anthony Johnson can be the guy to come out of retirement. He should actually come out of retirement. Why did he retire again? He just didn't want to fight anymore. That was his thing.
I know. I would love to see Johnson versus fucking Jones. That'd be a great fight. You're right. I mean, what kind of world now are we in? What madness is this, Lewis, that now we just have a light heavyweight champion that we accept is going to fail tests? I'm not hating on Jon Jones. I am not hating on Jon Jones. If you're listening to this, John, which I highly doubt it, I am not hating on you, but can we not at least look at the hilarity involved that we have a UFC fighter that we just accept? Oh, yeah, that guy? Oh, yeah, no, he's allowed to test positive because, like, you know, picograms are in his system and stuff. It's bizarre.
Yeah. It's, you know, if Jon Jones were to remove himself from the situation and just to look at it objectively, he would even go, come on, guys, really? Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It'd be interesting to know whether or not Jon would take on other fighters that were tested positive. That'd be interesting. Of course, he would say yes, but would he really? Would he really?
Well, Anthony Smith, he's what was his pull up his actual quote on the Jon Jones testing positive again, because he is smart. Whoever is in his ear, I don't know if it's just his own instincts, which are great, or if he's got a great manager or agent, but every time he has a statement on this,
No. When I did that show with him, remember, he even said on this show, it was me. I told him what to say. I've been texting him how to handle this whole thing. Every smart thing that Anthony Smith says is my doing, okay? So you're welcome, Lewis. Thank you.
I'm really just complimenting Michael Bisping right now.
Yeah, exactly. But, stop it. I'm starting to blush. He's really fucking smart. Yeah, no, it's interesting because I'm going to be at Vegas. I'm working that show for ESPN. And if Jones has been listening to this podcast, which I know he hasn't, I know he doesn't listen to the podcast, I'm assuming, but he might scroll YouTube and see all these, these clickbait websites that put these hits out there to get views, It's weird, man. It's weird. I guess we just got to get on with it, I mean, but how long is he allowed to fail tests and still be allowed to fight for? That's my only. I understand. I get it from everyone's perspective. I understand the scientists. I've heard Jeff Nowitzki. I've heard Jon Jones. I've heard it all, and we've got no choice but to accept it all. And as I say, fair play to Alexander Gustafsson and fair play to Anthony Smith for not going on about it too much. Gustafsson hasn't protested the victory or the loss, and Smith is willing to fight him. So fair play to those guys. They're true warriors.
Well, it also doesn't do well for them.
How long can it go on like this for, though?
If Anthony Smith, or dude, look, you know this firsthand, right? If you would have come out and been like, fuck you, you're a cheat, that's why you beat me after the fights, it didn't, even though that was the truth a lot of the time. You were dealing with people that were cheating and that got caught for using steroids or TRT after the fact. There were known, steroid abusers or performance enhancement abusers. It didn't gain any fanfare, even if it's the truth. It just sort of looks like somebody making excuses for the losses. So even if you really believe that, it does more for you to go, fuck you, I don't care, everybody's on steroids, who gives a shit? And that's sort of what Anthony Smith is doing. What was his quote? What did he say, Harrington?
All right, give me 1 sec here. If you're hitting me up about this, I truly don't care. Picograms, no picograms, Olympic-sized swimming pool, grains of salt. I couldn't care any less. I signed on the line and did it knowing what I was signing up for and with no expectations. I'm good, y'all.
Beautiful.
It's great.
Beautiful. Well, listen, it's supreme confidence. Listen, I'm writing a book right now about my fight career. And one of the things we were talking about earlier today was that in the early days of my in early days of MMA, certainly in England, I'm sure all over the world, even in the UFC up until very, very recently, everybody is cheating. Shut up! Rebecca! There it is. We couldn't go a whole shot. I said, put the dog outside.
Drink.
I said, the dog chasing the fucking tennis ball around the house. Put the dog outside. It is 79 degrees here today. It's a beautiful day. He's German. He's a shepherd. Let me go fucking German shepherd outside because he's barking. And I've lost my train of thought. Rebecca, my office after this. We're going to talk. Where was I?
We're talking about Anthony Smith.
In the early days of MMA, is what I'm talking about in my book right now. A lot of people all did steroids, and I think it was kind of par for the course. I never did because my dream wasn't to be trying to get a win at a shitty sports hall in England on a low-level show. I wanted to get to the UFC, and I had no idea how long that stuff would stay in your system. Not that I'd take it anyway if I'd known, but I was like, A, I don't want to do that, and B, that could mess up my UFC hopes down the line. But you still go into those fights having the knowledge that your opponent may be on steroids, but you think, you know what? I don't give a fuck. I'm still going to beat your ass anyway. But then when you start taking on the best people in the world and the level of margin or advantage is so small and so fine, that's when steroids really start mattering. But
yeah,
I admire Anthony Smith for his stance on this. I do.
I agree. I think he could complain. I think he could, but he's gaining a lot of fans, and I hope he can do it. I really hope he can do it. I've never really rooted for Jon Jones. I don't know what it is. There's something that it's always sort of bugged me about him. when he's fighting Rashad, the way he kind of stole Rashad's, the way he walked into the cage, like Rashad pointed that out at the time. Like he was sort of stole Rashad's swagger a little bit. It didn't seem super original. So I never really dug it. So I hope that Anthony Smith can do it. Is there a part of you that just assumes that everyone's going to be on steroids? When you were fighting, did you just kind of go like, all right, I'm assuming that these guys are on steroids, and it never really came into your mind?
I had no idea. I was so naive. I just thought that nobody was doing it and everybody was on the level playing field. And then the more and more I knew, the more I heard about failed tests, the more, failed tests were being made public. I was always like, holy fuck, that guy? And I remember one day going, oh my God, they're all doing it, aren't they? Wow. They're all doing it. And of course, they're all doing testosterone replacement therapy. God knows. I mean, who knows what they were doing, but everybody knows my stance on that.
Because I read a really interesting thing on Reddit. It was right after the Jon Jones picogram thing, and he was talking about his experiences as a professional mixed martial artist in England. It was specifically in England he was talking about. And in the really, really long...
Sorry, who was this?
This is a guy, he was unnamed. It was just a Reddit thread. I'll send it to you because it was kind of interesting to read. And he was talking about how it's so prevalent. He was like, it's everybody in his gym and everybody in the scene. And I guess in England, they don't test. There's no regulatory body on mixed martial arts. So he said it's just the type of thing that everybody is doing. In the way he described it, it was very open. Like people just kind of knew. Were there anybody, like as you were kind of coming up, were people just openly doing it? Like, I guess the old guard probably were a little more open about it than the new guard.
People would talk about it at the gym very openly. Very, very openly. I remember some guys, I won't say names, but people, they talked about it. They talked about the stuff they were taking and what it did for them, and it made them feel amazing. And they tell me how quick it was in and out of your system and this and that. But I never once, as I say, I'm writing a book about it now. But the whole purpose of me getting into this was to go the whole way. That was my vision from the start. I wasn't trying to just like get famous in my small little town and be known as a hard man and win, a few bucks and get a little bit of local celebrity for being the hard man on some local cage fighting show. That wasn't my endeavor. That wasn't my end game. My end game was to get to the UFC and be a world-class fighter, win the belt, and hopefully be able to retire off the amount of money that I made. You know what I mean? So at no point, are you okay there, Lewis? You look like you're about to pass out.
No. I had like a little bit of burp come up, so I just sort of did it away from the microphone.
It was that smelly that you had to almost throw up.
I kind of had to put my head down.
I looked at you and you looked like you were like... You were convulsing.
Yeah, it was
acting weird. I thought you were having a heart attack.
I was holding in my burp. I didn't want to just burp in the middle of your impassioned speech about.
That would have been very rude. Yeah. What did you have for breakfast or lunch? I'm intrigued.
What did I have? Oh, I just had a sandwich. I had a turkey sandwich for lunch and breakfast was steak and eggs. My girlfriend made me this morning.
Oh. No wonder you're burping. Yeah. I'm starving, man. I've hardly eaten. I've had a protein shake all day. I am going to correct that as soon as I finish this podcast. Oh, I'm starving. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Your burp just made me very, very hungry.
That's disgusting.
It is disgusting. All right. Well, listen, should we do a couple of questions, wrap this one up, and let everybody go about their day? And by the way, we will be back on our regular schedule. As I say, I get this monstrosity off my face on Monday. And business as usual, fly out to Brazil to commentate my first UFC event. So if you happen to check out UFC Fortaleza, I will be on the mic with Brandon Fitzgerald. Very much looking forward to that one. Question numero uno.
And if you guys want to send us questions, video, or even just regular text questions, we're going to answer some text questions today. bympod@gmail.com is the email address. bympod@gmail.com. We like the video questions a lot, so send those in too. Go ahead.
Okay. This is from Brian Davis. What's up, guys? Brian Davis from Bonita Springs, Florida. I'm a huge fan of the #1 MMA podcast in the world, BYM. My question is for both of you. What advice would you give for developing a rhythm as co-hosts on a podcast? I love the way you guys are able to mess around back and forth, but then keep it professional and get your point across when you need to. Keep doing what you're doing. I love the show. Excited for the growth in 2019.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. Great question, and appreciate the commentative as commentive, positive comments. Wow, that was a mesh of positive and comments. What did I say? Commentive? Anyway, whatever. We appreciate the positive comments, Brian. It's funny, because I go on YouTube, Lewis, and I look at the questions, and there's a lot of very nice things, but there is a few people that still talk a bit of shit about you. And I'm like, these motherfuckers, because that's why the dynamic is so great. Because we come on here and we don't plan about talking about half of the shit that is the funniest stuff. And it's because we have a good rapport, we have great chemistry, we just bounce off one another, and it makes it funny. If it was somebody else, I don't think the dynamic or the comedy would be anywhere near as good.
I agree. I mean, look, here's the thing. I this isn't the only podcast I host. I host a few different podcasts, and they're all pretty different, and I think that one of the things that we do on this show is that we want to play. And when I say play, it's almost a weird way to put it, but we like to play. Like, we like to come in and go, like, let's fuck around and see where it goes, and not be so restrictive in terms of what the types of things we're joking about or the words that we're using. And sometimes it lands and it's fucking hysterical. Sometimes it doesn't, and it's kind of funny in itself when it doesn't land. We sort of make fun of each other for making a bad joke or whatever it might be. But I think it's because we take chances. I think that the best comedy comes from people who are taking chances and who are saying, hey, maybe let's try to push it to the line a little bit, see if we can push some boundaries. Let's do new things that we haven't done before. And we want to be here. I listen back to all my shows. If I listen to a podcast, today compared to 8 years ago, 9 years ago when I started podcasting, just the difference in terms of the quality of the way that I speak and the rhythm of, I see, like, we're doing an audio podcast right now. I'm watching Michael Bisping, and I can see his lips start to purse when he's ready to jump in, and I have to wait for that moment. And unless you do a podcast 50 times or radio over the phone 50 times, you're not going to know those little cues and these little things. It just takes time, and you have to want to do it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And to answer the guy's question, you're trying to go back and forth. You're trying to make it flow seamlessly. When I'm ready to wrap up my point of what I'm saying, unless we're on one of those moments where we're just fucking interrupting each other and busting each other's balls and all format has gone out the window for a minute. But if we're trying to actually have a conversation or whatever properly, I'll end it with a Lewis, or do you know what I mean? I'll throw a little question on the end, which signifies to you that for you to take over the conversation, So just little things like that,
And it also, we had to develop a different type of dynamic as well, because we're not in the same room. We started doing the radio show where we couldn't even see each other. Like, we do the podcast now, we're actually looking at each other on a screen so we can actually in real time communicate. You sort of forget that we're not in the same room, or I do anyway. Where, I'm actually talking the same way that I talk to a friend that would be in the room. But that took time. I think a lot of, our good friends, the Fighter and the Kid, when they made the comment about, people on Skype not being able to have a dynamic, they weren't actually just taking a shot at us. There's a lot of podcasts that are over Skype, and I think that's actually kind of true for the most part. I think most of the time, to have that type of dynamic, it is difficult if you're not in the same room, but our foundation, we started doing it this way, so we didn't really know any other way.
I'd be embarrassed.
Well, it was the only way it was possible, but I got back after being nearly mugged, assaulted, and covered in rain by myself in Brooklyn last week after, the friend that had promised to meet me left me. I don't know who that was, the scumbag that never showed, turned his phone off.
Scumbag that never showed.
After I got back to my hotel room, I lay in bed and I listened to Thursday night show that we did together in New York. And I was listening to it and it was great. Of course, when we're in person together in studio, it's way better, because it just is, because we're buzzing off each other a little bit. But I was listening to the show and I could see how far the show has come from when we first started. As you said, as the question asker rightly pointed out, the flow, the chemistry is very good, and it takes a while. It does take a while. You got to stick with it. You got to find what works. But I'm happy with where we are.
The one bit of advice that I'd give anybody, and I run a podcast network with 20 amazing podcasts, and I host a few of them myself. Listen back to your broadcasts, and you're going to see mistakes that you make, and try to correct those mistakes, and try to be better every single week. That's the best advice.
Well. Yeah, and it's with anything, on any medium or anything that you do where you put a product out there, you got to always go back and check your product and see what it's like. When I first started doing work on Fox Sports, like UFC Tonight and things like that, I had no training in that type of stuff, but they knew I had personality. They knew I had the confidence to do it, and they gave me the shot. And fortunately, they worked with me. They worked on getting me to slow down, overpronounce my words to try and combat my accent. That's why I've developed a slight American twang. I know Americans don't hear, but the English, they're always saying, what's with the slight American accent, Mike? It's because I want to be understood. It's because I want to work on TV and do podcasts, and people in America understand what I say. So I had to do that. And the main thing they would say at Fox Sports or wherever, when you go home, watch it back, because they'll say, Mike, slow down, or Mike, do this, Mike, pronounce your words a little better, Mike, when you sat in your seat, stop shuffling around because it amplifies on screen. And you only really see that, and to your point, when you watch back, when you listen back. You go home, you sit and watch the show back, you're like, oh, yeah, they're right. I am talking too fast. I did interrupt. I didn't pronounce my words carefully enough, or whatever it may be. So if you're doing a podcast, listen to it back. If you're trying to do TV, watch it back. Scrutinize yourself and grade yourself. There you go. And be honest.
All right, let's get one more question in.
Okay. This one is from Alan Ogden. Hi, guys. Love the podcast. Gets us through some of the long shifts at work. Keep it up. Question is, if you had to pick one person out of the current UFC roster for each other to fight, who would it be and why?
Well, it's funny you ask that, because I'm looking out the window right now, and I was paying attention, but I can see Lucas next door, and then two other kids, and they're all, it appears that they're playing, but they're definitely fighting. They're pushing each other. They're rolling around on the floor. There may be a gang fight in Anaheim Hills right now between 8-year-olds. I'm just throwing it out there. As long as no one picks up a rake or a shank or a knife or any kind of weapons, I'll let it go on. Okay? Yeah. I'll let it play itself out, because in the wild, that's what needs to happen. These days, all the social justice warriors will fucking come out and, scold them and tell them they can't do that. That is how things are settled in the wild. But if we had to pick somebody from the UFC, hold on. If I had to pick somebody from the UFC for Lewis to fight, who would it be and why? Ooh, that's a good question. Lewis, have you got any thoughts to an answer?
Yeah. Paige Van
Go
Zandt.
ahead.
Paige Van Zandt. I want to see you just fucking... What am I supposed to say? Paige, she's had it too good for too long. Van Zandt versus Bisping, catch weight, 160 pounds. She's got to put on some weight.
Fuck that bitch. Let's go.
How would you end it? How would it go? Give me your prediction, Michael Bisping. You're fighting Paige Van Zandt. Main event,
tell you this.
ESPN.
I'll tell you a little story. When I was doing Japanese jiu-jitsu when I was a kid.
Oh, boy. Oh, no.
There was this girl called Diane, and she was
there
nice,
was
sweet
this
girl.
She was.
No, there's a girl called Diane, and she was really nice. She was a big girl. But they matched us up against one another, and we were sparring. And they said, "You gotta go. You gotta, And I'm like, what, against the girl?" And they're like, "Yeah, don't worry. She's a green belt. You're a white belt. She's bigger than you. She's older than you. Don't worry, she can take it." And I'm like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right. Well, I'm not letting some motherfucker make a name off my back." Boom! Kicked her in the body. She fell on her knees and started crying her eyes out, and I felt so bad. I was like, "Oh my God." I was only like 10. She was about 15. Do you know what I mean? So they were like, "Don't worry about her. She's good." I'm like, "All right. Well, if we're doing this, we're doing this." So listen, if it's me versus Paige Van Zandt, and that's what it's coming down to, Lewis, it's kill or be killed.
That's it.
To the victor go the spoils.
Do you think she's going to hold back?
She ain't going to hold back shit.
Nope.
That's why I don't spar with Cyborg down at the gym. I don't. There was that video doing the rounds recently where it looks like she's beating me up. That was actually a birthday video message I sent to Vin Diesel. There's a proper name drop for you. But I don't like sparring with women because they just go off on you full bore. And, they got technique. They got some power. They can hit and connect with you. What do? You can't hit them back. So I'm like, nah, let's just do this. I'll spar with my own kind.
Did you see Mike Perry dropping his girlfriend with a body shot?
I did. I didn't make too much out of that. I mean,
I like him.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Fuck that, dude. She's hardcore. Anybody who's hating on that, let me tell you something. That bitch, she likes to get freaky with Mike Perry. That's their own version of foreplay. Whatever they're doing, they're training, they're getting into it. He dropped her with a body shot. Dude, it was so hard. It was hilarious. But look, if a woman wants to train, that's going to make her way fucking better. That simple as that. Like, you training with a woman isn't going to really do much for you. I can't compare it to much, but I compare it to Fortnite, right? If I want to practice Fortnite and I'm playing playgrounds, I got to play with people that are sort of on my level or better than me. Playing people that are below me, that's not going to help nobody, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like I always say, you're only as good as the people that you train with. And it's lovely that you just showed your complete, don't ever liken the two of us together. You compared it to Fortnite.
Yep.
I compare it to real life. You're only as good as the people that you train with. Oh, in Fortnite, yeah, you got to go on whatever that level was that you called it. I don't even know what it was. But just quickly, before we sign off, you just reminded me of a somewhat funny story. Do I name the person? After we did the podcast last Thursday? Well, Friday night, I was in this Irish bar around the corner from the hotel in Brooklyn called O'Hara's. And the staff in there were very friendly. They were very great. And every time I was in there, of course, it was around the corner from the UFC Brooklyn Fighter Hotel. And it was full of coaches, fighters, just everyone from the UFC scene. As I say, O'Hara's Irish bar was right there. You looking it up?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. Go ahead.
Yes. So anyway, Friday night, I'm walking in by myself. I thought I'd just sit at the bar, scroll Instagram, whatever. I'll just have a quick nightcap before bed. And I walk in. And as I'm walking in, there was like a gang of UFC types walking in as well. One of them's a fighter in the UFC, a woman. She's a fighter in the UFC, and she walked in with her husband and her teammates, like the whole team. And as I'm approaching the door from this way, they were approaching the door from the other way. And I walked in, and it was the perfect timing. And they were so close to me that I held the door open for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So from the barman's perspective, it looked like we all walked in together. And we sit there at the bar, and they sat at the bar to the right of me, and we get chatting throughout the night. I'm like, hold on, you fight in the UFC? I'm pretty sure I've seen you. She's a woman fighter. She's got blonde hair. And she's like, yeah, it wasn't Paige Van Zandt. And we get chatting. I'm chatting to her and her husband and her whole teammate just about the fights and whatnot, that weekend. Anyway, they leave. They go. And I go to pay my check, and there's an extra $177 on it.
No.
And they'd left without paying their fucking check.
No.
And the people in the bar tried putting it on my fucking tab.
No.
I'm like, hold on a minute. I said, I don't know them people. They said, what do you mean you were with them all night? You came in here with them. I said, no, I didn't. I just walked in here at the same time they were walking in. I've never met them before in my life. Now, I'm not a cheap person. If we were together, I would happily get the drinks. But I'm like, no, that's the barman's lookout. I'm not paying $177 worth of drinks that I didn't drink. You need to fucking up your security levels, my friend. And Caitlin Chukagian needs to pay her fucking bills.
Caitlin
Chukagian and her fucking boyfriend, husband, and her team do not pay their fucking way.
That's fucking hilarious. Caitlin Chukagian, she stiffed you with a bill. She competed in the bantamweight division, currently competes in the flyweight division. Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Hey, fair play. Her and her husband tried to stiff me with the belt, which I didn't. I'm not going to take it. But then, listen to this. The person, the barman, started making out that I was refusing to pay my bill. You know what I mean? He starts going, well, what do you want to pay for then? I'm like, oh, whoa. I want to pay for my drinks. I'll pay my way. He's like, okay, Mike, whatever you say. I'm like, no. Whatever I drank tonight, and this I was talking to this 66-year-old guy who was a lovely fella, and whatever he drank, I'll pay our tab. Like, okay, Mike, whatever you say. I'm like, no, it's not whatever I say. I don't know them. I'm not with them. I'm not paying their $177 fucking tab. I'll pay my way. And the guy's like, okay, bro, whatever. Like, making out that I'd bullied my way out of paying their drinks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Which I didn't appreciate O'Hara's.
The Chukagians, they're slick. They're a slick bunch. I got no problem, by the way, with Caitlin Chukagian and her husband. I respect them for saying, you know what, it's fucking Michael Bisping, rich motherfucker. We heard about his half mansion on his podcast. Stick him with it's $177. It's not that much, to be honest with you. I gotta be honest with you, Michael. I feel like you look bad here. $177 is not even that much. Shame bell for Michael Bisping.
Yeah, you're right. I should have paid the tab.
Should have paid the tab.
my hard-earned money that I was working. You know, I'm not there in Brooklyn to fucking for free. I'm trying to generate money, Lewis, and paying random people's bills, whether or not she's a UFC flyweight, whether or not they were very nice people, whether or not I walked into that bar with them or not. I ain't paying your fucking drinks, okay? But
Thank you. Okay. You'd be embarrassed.
oh, great stuff. Anyway, I believe that's the end of the show. We will be back on Monday. Thank you for sticking with us this week. We apologize for the infrequency of the shows. We love doing the show. We love what we got here. We built something special. We'll be back in a couple of days. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Talk to you soon.